Let's take a look at what came out here. I'm a very visual person, so I usually go to pictures first, and more people start to figure it out, so you get more pictures now. Current science is a neutral intellectual process. Unity, diversity, and in between a holistic approach. What group is this coming from?
We started with the fact that nowadays science is a neutral intellectual process, and it's a process, not good, not bad, but it's a process with a lot of diversity. What misses is the unity, the connecting all the sciences that are happening, and what's lacking is a holistic approach to do all that diverse research in. So what we said is what you need is the unity and the diversity. It's a bottom-up, and to combine the bottom-up approach with the top-down approach gives a more holistic approach, and it doesn't go by itself. You really have to move from both sides to each other.
And then help me here, because this is also interesting. It says steps, and the first step, you don't have to talk about all the steps, but is to put the stanzas into a model?
Yeah, so both people who are thinking out of unity have different language most of the time than people who are thinking out of diversity or in a scientific approach. And maybe it was the first step for Theosophists to get the stanzas and make a model that scientists can understand.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. And then here, if I go to the top left, it says science now has all these little boxes, and if we go away from these specialized niches, from university to universality, we get broken barriers and rediscovery. And then it says, at number 2, education at early age, no more monkey business. So, where's the monkey business group? Who is that? Who can tell us something about the monkey business? Ruud.
So this means to say no more monkey business. Don't tell our youth that we are coming from the apes. So, because if we do that, we tell them also you have to struggle for life. And if we do that, you tell them also we have to do this all in competition. And if you do that, you end up in all niches in university, all competing each other and don't have the overview anymore. So that's about the monkey business.
Thank you very much. That explains a lot. And then here, bottom left, it says, measuring the immeasurable. That sounds almost Taoistic. So where's the group who put this up? It also says, free of vested interests, open and searching for truth.
Our group was exploring what would happen if you merged religion, philosophy, and science. And we recognized that there are subtle energies, subtle worlds that would incorporate into science, which are not currently accepted, such as the Dalai Lama's experiments with brain consciousness things. And what else? Oh, no vested interest, because we talked about how science also keeps to what particularly it will get money or power from, and that it's so important to be open-minded and open in one's search.
Thank you. It says also, I think, service of all would be the purpose, right? Instead of serving business. Thank you for that. Let's go over here, because we have here universal ethics in some kind of a sun drawing, and it says occult science, meditation, physical science, and social science. I'm a bit curious. This is also a bit cryptic. Who can help us here? Joop.
Yeah, we first had some discussion about whether some parts of science have really no ethics or do have some ethics in it. And we came to the conclusion that, for instance, the physical sciences are most of the time without really consideration of ethical things, while there are social sciences where this is a very important aspect. So it is maybe not so bad as we think it is. So you can draw from many fields of science itself to start ethical discussions. But of course we would also want to involve the occult sciences and all the other things we have noted down. I can't see it anymore, but...
it says it is beneficiary to everyone, integration of science, philosophy, religion.
Oh, that's the second question
life.
you're relating to. Yeah.
But this is everything it says at the first one.
Yeah.
So it says occult science, social science, physical science, and meditation.
Yeah. That to draw from all those fields to get the discussion on the agenda of ethics. And for the second thing is that you always would like to start with the right order of first the purpose of things, and then the background to explain things. An example that was given was that there is some young guys coming to Pertti Spets in Sweden having some mystical experiences, and only he is one of the few people who can explain what is in fact happening, and that there is knowledge about this, and that helps people to get along with it. So that's the explanatory part of it. And then the science part is how you realize things in the end to make them concrete.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, since we don't come from the apes, it says here, how can we affect science? Scientists are human beings before scientists. Where's the group who put that down? Yes, the JC group.
Thank you. Well, we talked about we have to, like how to affect science. We have to first realize that scientists are human beings, and they're going through their own search regarding philosophy and religion, not just science. And so if we can recognize that, that's the beginning of a common ground. And then, anything else? That's it?
No, it's great to come back to the common ground. Good point. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah. And then here on this one, which is also very colorful, it says we have to change science. It's a bit cryptic. Could somebody explain something about this one? Whose group was this? All out for lunch? Yes, please.
We talked about how we have to be a living example, and we have to change and live Theosophy, and out of that everything will change and everybody will change and science will change, but it starts with us.
It starts with us. All right, thank you. Now somebody was trying to draw my attention to once again the sun here. Where's the sunny group? Yes, Patricia. You did it. Good. Then tell us about it. It says bringing religion and... No, let's go to the third one. Present a holistic vision as a starting point. Be open to sympathetic minds. Communicate with scientists with a universal perspective. So where do you find those scientists with a universal perspective?
Keeping our minds open, we usually are able to meet special people with affinities with our theosophical perspective, and we believe it will work, because if you are awakened, you can find them.
That's a good point. And probably we have to find out ways that they can find us as well, right? So
of course.
That's a very good point. Thank you very much. And now, oh yeah, over here it says, this is important. There's a lady in the crowd and she's wearing pink Crocs. She's very fashionable. And she wrote down something about the importance of studying cultural art, social thought, history instead of history of states, countries, and wars. I need help. Helena, where are you? Over here.
Okay. I didn't write that, but I think what it means is, well, we discussed that media is important too, you know, and putting good science into the media, and also, you know, the history is about wars, and if we could somehow inculcate not just into religion, science, and philosophy, but into the other subjects like history, you know, the lighting of Manas, you know, into education at an earlier age. So instead of a history of wars, a history of the lighting of Manas.
Nice. Thank you very much. It's a good thing we have a number of teachers here in the room. Some of them are retired, but maybe they work with young teachers. With regards to question number 3, how can we do that? Any more ideas that you think came out in your group that you would like to share here?
Yes, because that's what we spent all our time.
You need a microphone, and it's following you. April, tell us.
Well, many things that you all said, we said, but I think also I would like to really emphasize that there are many groups who understand the interconnectedness of all being, and they're all out there. They're activists, and I think we need to connect more, and not be too caught up in the theosophical label, but get beyond the label and understand how our principles, basically, many people share these principles, and they are out there, whether they're environmentalists or social justice groups, or religious groups that get it. They're doing things. So I think that we need to unite with them and work together to bring about this change. They understand it. And I think as our institutions fall apart, and they're going to keep falling apart because they're not based on solid principles, we have a real opportunity to unite with other people who get it and work together to further the love of humanity. I think many people get it.
Thank you. More ideas? Suggestions? No? Sorry, no? Yep. Hank?
Yeah, there were also a few suggestions in our group. For instance, that a very important part of a new science is that it is done by your conscience. So led by your conscience. And we had a very practical idea, is to study within the theosophical circles more from what is conscience. I mean, that gives an enormous, I think, a lot of clarification, that we understand it more from the theosophical principles.
That's a very bright idea.
And second point is, perhaps it's only a question, are we all really ready already when we have the chance to contribute to a scientific symposium or something like that, a scientific discussion, and we have, which is rare, the chance, there may be a theosophist who sits there and who gives, are we already ready for that? That's a question.
It's a good question. Yeah. So we need to prepare ourselves, study consciousness, but also study what should we do to prepare ourselves? Any suggestions?
I want to have that as a kind of open
good.
question.
Well, let's ask the question to the crowd. What can we do to prepare ourselves for this conversation with scientists? Yep, over here.
Our group, we talked about, I learned this new word, biotope. Did I pronounce it right? A number of people have been trying to get this into my head, and I haven't been able to learn it, but I think I'm starting to get it. Where you create an environment that is attractive, actually, to people that are of scientific discipline bent, And the fundamental thing, at least in our group, that creates that kind of an attractive environment is to be onto truth, because that's what scientists are really onto. Mm-hmm. And to have that fearless, uncompromising desire to find truth. So instead of teaching dogmas and so forth, you and yourself in your own heart want truth. And that's what HPB set that example. And that's why she was attractive to many of these scientists.
Good point.
So
thank you very much. It's over there. Yeah. Well, so what can we do to make sure that we can have a fruitful conversation with scientists? Yep. Oh, it's coming.
In our group, we struggled with a number of current issues in society and medicine particularly, such as organ transplants, even gay marriage, all kinds of issues that come up which have a scientific aspect to them perhaps. And we thought about having some kind of impact on the sort of moral culture of the world and how we do that. And of course the first idea is that Theosophists should get together with leaders of thought who are especially on the leading edge, should we say, the more spiritual aspects of science and medicine. And I think we then realized that first we have to figure out for ourselves what are the answers to some of these difficult questions. And at first we thought these are too controversial, many of them. And then we also thought, well, Madame Blavatsky was very brave in her day to take up the cause of the untouchables and the caste system in India. She commented very directly on things like vivisection. And science has progressed a great deal since then. So I think we were thinking in terms of how can we study and coordinate and educate ourselves better on guidance from the masters and Madame Blavatsky on these current issues, and then take another step to put that out in the world.
Good point. Thank you very much. Sieglinde over here. Evert, here. Thank you.
Well, we were just thought about the same subject, and we just had the idea that how can we be a real partner in a discussion with a scientist? Should we now all become our own scientists, and how could that be possible? And so we thought that the best preparation is to know Theosophy, to study Theosophy, to be prepared, because some of our experiences were that by studying Theosophy, you understand what a scientist wants to say. You see the background. So that was an experience one of us made.
Very good point.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yep, over there in the back. Arend.
There were a few observations in our group. One of that was that often when we want to establish contact with scientists, we do that because we want to prove that HPB was right. And that means that we start initially with the concept with scientists that we are kind of believers who try to impose our views on the scientists, and that's a no-go. I mean, then you won't get much attention. So that's something you absolutely need to avoid. Another element which was observed was that science is gradually getting more and more specialized. And that's a natural process, of course. When science develops, new scientists need to discover something new, and it tends to be a detail of a detail, increasingly. But the great picture is then gradually lost, and that's what we see. So we had the idea, probably what we need to do is to offer to science a very clear overview of the occult laws, maybe without any reference, that was also mentioned in our study group, without any reference towards the T word or whatever, but just offer them as clean as they are.
T-word.
The T word. That was one of our members used that word. I used the K word yesterday, and that was also a sensitive thing. But then coming back to my story, if we would be able to to give a clear overview of the occult laws and maybe gradually, step by step, explain what impact that has on the different aspects of science. So offer a top-down approach, whereas at the moment science has a bottom-up approach, looking at details and then get lost in the greater picture. If we would be able to offer a kind of a top-down approach as we have it, as we together, probably we could be of service to science. As I said, in a not dogmatic way, not referring to whatever we. That's of course we would like. We like to show that by the end HPV was right or whatever. We need to prevent that. If we want to attack, or if we want to communicate and raise curiosity, that's probably the key word here. Raise curiosity with scientists and making them ask questions and rethink their model. We should do that in a scientific way, which means trying not to impose our what they would call beliefs on them.
Good point, and it connects nicely with your first point. Question everything, right?
Questions.
Yep,
Yeah,
excellent.
absolutely.
Thank you very much. Yep, over here. Gene?
I apologize for this, but it's not in regards strictly to the communication about science, but it's more about ourselves and perhaps in an ideal world about the scientist as well. First, the simple statement, know thyself. Because if we understand how the filters we see things through, our principles, obscure the view, and we can step aside from them, from the point of view of the scientist, from the point of view of the student, and leave our interest aside, then perhaps we can begin to talk about truth. And that is, in a sense, the foundation for any true communication. And I think in the principles that April had put forth, listen with the heart, speak from the heart. Once we put ourselves aside, because we know ourselves, then we can begin to embrace what is a very difficult communication.
Yes. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Well, actually, I'm not that worried about scientists, because they come to the point very quickly, I think, to accept that behind the material facts there's consciousness. When you go to a conference from scientists, whether that's brain surgeons or others, the first thing they ask, or the first thing they tell the public is, well, let's not talk about consciousness. So they don't talk about it, they think about it. So I think that we are pretty close to a breakthrough, that consciousness will be accepted widely among scientists as well. So that's not a problem. The problem is, will we be ready to help them there to find out exactly what consciousness is? Because we are supposed to be the experts there in that area. And if we are not, ready for that, it will go in all directions. And perhaps after 25 years, we will all say, well, there you see, they accepted consciousness, we are right. But it have ended up probably in all kinds of directions we won't like. So please, we need each other there to help out these people as well, and to explain about what consciousness is and how deep that goes. Thank you very much.
So we have work to do. Judy, over here. You get a mic. There it is.
I just want to comment on what Joost said. There is an institute at the University of Arizona that was started about 20 years ago by a philosophy professor named David Chalmers, who has written very strongly against the idea that the mind is reducible to the brain. And at this institute, they invite everyone from nuclear physicists, neurosurgeons, philosophers, psychiatrists, and Indian shamans, and the Dalai Lama. So it is happening in the academic world. Perhaps it doesn't have enough influence yet, but I think it is happening with scientists, and in this case under the direction of a philosopher. So I just want to comment on Joost's important point.
Thank you very much. So we need to prepare, and we need to show up, and we need to find out where it's happening, right? Where it's at. Thank you very much. That might be a nice, good note to close this session on this morning. Before you get up and leave, a couple of more things. Do you get the routine now? So it's 2 lectures, and then we have a workshop, and if you want, you can have some coffee, but if the conversation is really intense, then you can also stay. And then we do a wrap-up together. You got it now? Good, because then we can break it. So this afternoon, we're going to do something different. I won't forget.